It is recording. Hello, everyone. It's your Commissioner Brian Spazit with a good dear friend of mine, Scott Kirchhoff. So this is kind of the first week that we're going to be doing this little fancy football podcast, just with stuff about our league, the League of Winners, year number 5. Never had a 2-time winner, but Scott, you've been in the league for 4 years and you've made the playoffs all 4 years, right?
I think I missed out 1 year.
1 year. Gotcha.
The
I'm
yeah,
pretty
the
sure
1 year when I traded Devonte Adams at the last minute in a desperation.
Oh, you didn't make the postseason that year?
I don't think I did.
And you traded him for Chase, right?
Yeah,
And that's when they made the Super Bowl, I think.
yeah, it was 2 years ago. I want to say
I
three
actually
years
think
ago.
Mario has made the playoffs every single year he's been in the league, which is fucking unreal, to be honest with you. But let's go over
Still
some.
looking for that first ring.
Well, yeah, I mean, dude, the thing is, though, the crazy thing, we've never had a 2-time winner in our league. Now, we will at the end of this season after I win it. But other than that, we've never.
Ah, I was waiting for that one.
Yeah, and actually, Sam makes the playoffs all the time, too. There's some really good fancy players in our league. And then there's someone like Johnny, who says that he won the league or made the final 1 year, which just isn't true. Rough,
Yeah.
rough. All right. So we're just going to go between the matchups. We'll start with the matchup of the week. Mike Vick's Kennel versus defending champ. Both 3-1. Both teams are deeper than I would say the majority of the teams are. So yeah, I see here that you're off to a 16-0 start because you're a kicker. Dude, the thing that I'm kicking myself, I dropped Younghoe Koo 2 weeks ago. Last week he put up 20, and last night he put up like 15.
Yeah, well, I think the first thing we should say about this game is Chase McLaughlin is a dog. Um,
Never even heard that.
Absolute dog. 16 spot last night. Got him off of waivers this week. He was floating around. Felt our team needed some accountability, so we dropped Dustin Hopkins and moved on to McLaughlin. And I don't know who let him be available, but they messed up.
Yeah, and so I guess we'll start with the quarterback position. Jaden Daniels versus newly acquired Dak Prescott. Traded Dak for Patrick Mahomes the other day. The league was not thrilled about it. Obviously you have a clear, huge advantage here with Jaden Daniels, but I'm hoping the Browns defense can kind of stuff them up a little bit.
Well, I think there's a couple of things to point out right off the rip, and that's the league's going to hate any trade you make. That's just a
That's true.
fact.
That's true.
I I I don't think you could make a trade and people in the league would be happy about it.
That's true.
You could probably give Johnny Derrick Henry for nothing, and people would still say you're getting you know a bad deal there. So yeah, there's that. And second off, take me through your thought process for Dak Prescott.
Yeah, dude. Patrick Mahomes has been freaking disappointing, man. I understand Patrick Mahomes is the best player in the NFL, but over the last 12 games going back to last year, he's been a top 12 quarterback, I think like once or something like that I saw the other day. And I've been on the quarterback market. I tried to get Brock Purdy. He's picked up. Dude, if we just look at the waiver wire of quarterbacks, it is just atrocious. Like obviously Kirk Cousins went crazy last night, but I mean Daniel Jones, he's my guy. He's a giant, but he's trash, bro. Trevor Lawrence, I don't think many people talk enough about how bad Trevor Lawrence has been in his NFL career. Deshaun Watson, the worst contract in NFL history. And I know
Well,
that,
that Trevor Lawrence one isn't too good either.
well, yeah, yeah. And I know
He got
he got what?
But yeah, Trevor Lawrence got paid too, and hasn't shown much of it. They haven't won a game in almost a calendar year, I think they said last week.
Well, dude, they're the only winless team so far in the NFL. And when the Panthers and the Raiders have wins and you don't, that's a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, and Deshaun Watson, I know we watch the Browns every Sunday. He's can't play him at all. Bo Nix is unplayable. Matthew Stafford. I miss the days of the Detroit Lions, Matthew Stafford, where he would throw like 400 yards, but like 3 picks.
Stafford might be playable once Cup and Nakua are back in the lineup. He really just has no one to throw the ball to right now.
Yeah, but dude, even if you look at this, he's the 29th ranked quarterback in points scored so far this year. There's only 32 starters.
Yeah, but he hasn't had Cup and Nakua for a full game.
Yeah. Aaron Rodgers, I thought would be nice to begin the year. I thought he could be a dark horse, good quarterback late in drafts. But with Brees Hall taking most of the red zone touches, and now that new running back that they got, and
Dog.
your second best receiver is Allen Lazard, probably not going to be great. But if Devontae heads there, could be an interesting pickup. All right. So obviously, traded Mahomes, got Dak. Dak was the best thing I could get without ripping my team in half, basically, at the quarterback position. Dak hasn't been great by any stretch of the imagination so far. I mean, 11, 12, 29, 16. This 29, most of it was in garbage time against the Ravens. But I am hoping that Dak Prescott, since they have no running game, can just throw for a bunch of yards this year, like how he did last year. It's my thought process
Yeah,
on
so
that.
I have CD Lamb. Does that like change any of your thought process, or is that something you just ignore when your quarterback has the guy you're playing has a receiver or vice versa?
No, it does cross my mind, and I guess it helps a little bit because if CD Lamb scores a touchdown, it negates some of your points because I'll get some points too. But also, that's like if Dak throws for a bunch of yards, CD Lamb's gonna get most of those yards, or at least 100 yards. So that negates some of Dak Prescott's points. But I didn't really trade for Dak for specifically this week. It's more of a long term type of thing, and I'm hoping in
Yes,
that.
that's the same with McLaurin too.
Yeah, and I'm hoping in the Cowboys division. Giants, they have a decent defense. It is what it is. The Eagles can't stop anyone, and the Commanders can't stop anyone. So even in those divisional games, he'll be able to score a lot of points. And then we got the two running backs, ETN and Cook versus Henry and Swift. And I know we talked a ton before the year who would fall where if you fell between Derrick Henry and Travis Etienne. And dude, I am thrilled that I went with Henry instead of ETN. ETN's been disappointing in my opinion. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, he has been a little disappointed. Still have a lot of confidence in him. I feel solid starting him. Wish the touches were a bit more, but that offense is just so bad. The offense could find some sort of rhythm. I think he's going to be fine. Like, but
Yep.
they don't have the ball long enough. They're not moving it.
Well, yeah, and I also
And
noticed they give the ball to Tank Bigsby quite often as well for some reason.
yeah, uh, that does happen, but
Yeah.
ETN will be solid in the long run. I'm not too worried.
Yeah, ETN,
But Derrick Henry was definitely the right call to 2-1, through 4 weeks of the season. He is
yeah.
still a beast, and now he's not the only weapon on his team.
Yeah, I mean, look at these carries, dude. 25 carries and 24 carries. Lowest so far this year was 10. It's because they were down to Kansas City. But if they're winning the game, he's going to be a tank all season. And then James Cook versus DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift, I traded George Pickens for. DeAndre Swift has been terrible. The Bears' offensive line is complete trash. But last week he went absolute nuts against the Rams. And the thing I love most,
A lot
seven.
of that was on one play, though.
Yeah, but the 7 catches. If your running back catches 7 passes, regardless of what he does on the ground, he's going to be a decent RB2. I'm hoping DeAndre Swift is just, I mean, max out RB2, I'd be thrilled. But if he can just be like a good flex play each week or just provide me some running back depth, later in the season with bye weeks, I'd be pumped.
Well, you do have Saquon on a bye this week. That should be noted.
I
Best
do.
running back in fantasy.
Actually, he's the second best. Alvin Kamara is number one currently because Alvin Kamara catches 8 balls a game for 30 yards. Um, James Cook has been nice. the Bills last week were kind of stumped by the Ravens, so it's kind of a pooper game. But these 3 games are all nice games for James Cook. He'll just be a solid low end RB1 or a high end RB2 all year.
Yeah, both of those guys are. You feel solid with them, but they're not gonna do anything too crazy. But just two solid players.
Yeah, and then CeeDee Lamb, your number 1 pick versus DK Metcalf. DK currently the 7th ranked receiver in fantasy, been absolutely outstanding. This first game he was shadowed by Pat Surtain. He got certained, but these 3 games been going nuts. Seattle has been scoring the ball a ton. Tyler Lockett has taken a backseat to JSN. I love DK Metcalf and obviously CeeDee Lamb. How he fell to you at 6, I have no idea, but he's just going to be top 5 receiver all season long.
Yeah, he's a stud. So is DK. He was kind of underrated going into the year, but he's balling out. And Terry McLaurin, if I recall, you got him off of waivers. That's wild. He shouldn't have been available on waivers.
Yeah, man, I picked up
I
Scary.
get it. There were questions about Jaden Daniels to begin the year, but that's a really good wide receiver right there. He put up pretty good numbers with Sam Howell last year, so I, you got a great pickup in McLaurin.
Yeah, dude, when I saw him there, I'm like, well, he's super talented. Everyone knows he's the best receiver on the team. But dude, like, yeah, this first game didn't go great. Even this game, 8.2 points is not ideal. But to find him on waivers after 6 catches, 8 targets, I'll take that from a receiver most of the time. The only bad part is that they only win for 22 yards.
Well, Daniels didn't play great in those first 2 games. He was scrambling a lot, didn't look comfortable throwing the ball.
Yeah. Yeah, and I
But
expect as
now
Jaden
he's
Daniels.
completing 85% of his passes.
Yeah, dude, and I also saw that they're one of the front runners to get Devontae.
All right. I didn't see that, but that would
Yeah, I don't know how that impacts Scary Terry or Jaden Daniels, but boy, would that be cool to watch. And then T. Higgins. I love me some T. Higgins. The problem with T. Higgins, dude, he's just injured all the time.
yeah. Uh Waiting for him to hit his stride. That Bengals offense started to look better last week. Um, but if he's on the field, he's going to get targets, and they love targeting him in the red zone.
Well, yeah, because when you can't run the ball and Jamar Chase is getting covered by the best opponent, and when he starts complaining, you're just gonna feed T. Higgins. I love T. Higgins. He was on my team last year. And then the 2
They
tight
threw
ends.
like 5 fades to him last weekend in the end zone, and he drew like 3 pass interference penalties.
That should be points.
Should be.
Tight ends, Kittle
You should
versus
get like half
Ferguson.
of the 1 yard run.
Dude, I also picked up Jake Ferguson on waivers earlier this year.
And tight end, there's nothing at tight end this year. Is there any tight end in the league in the NFL that you're like, that's a fantasy juggernaut right there? Kelsey isn't doing anything right now. Laporta hasn't done anything. Mark Andrews is non-existent.
Yeah, I mean
There really isn't a tight end that.
Mark Andrews has gone 2 straight games with goose eggs.
So the age of the tight end being it's almost an overvalued position because you're not going to get much. There's no one that sets themselves apart.
Yeah, so I think if you just get a top 10 tight end, it's pretty much the same as everyone else at this point this season.
Yeah.
All right, Jerome Ford versus Brian Thomas Jr. Jerome Ford, just a nice pickup. I thought about drafting him at a certain spot. I just didn't for some reason. Yeah, dude, he's just very available in the targets and catching the ball, and that just gives you ton of extra leverage and equity in PPR. He'll never be an efficient runner, but with that Browns offense looking so terrible, he might catch 5-6 balls a game all season.
Yeah, not sure when Chubb's coming back. That'll cut into the production, but for now, solid start, especially as a flex.
Yeah. And then I got Brian Thomas. Guess out of all the receivers so far, we're only 4 weeks in. Guess where Brian Thomas ranks on points scored so far this season?
I'd say he's probably around 20.
Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Dude,
Right there.
17th. 17th for a rookie, Brian Thomas. I got late in the draft. Jacksonville's offense has just been so bad, so they're always down. And Christian Kirk was non-existent the first 2 weeks, so someone had to get the targets, and that's been Brian Thomas. He's super talented too.
Another solid flex where you can slot him in when you need him. And in a deep 12-team league like this, you need at least one guy who you
Yeah.
can slot in as a flex because bye weeks are happening. And if you have more than one player on a bye, your team's not deep, you're in
Yeah.
some deep water.
And then you got the Jets defense against Minnesota, pretty ballsy, going up against Sam Darnold and Justin Jefferson.
Uh, yeah, there wasn't anything defense on waivers that I loved. London early morning game, body clock, Darnold against his old team. Feel good.
Yeah, see, this is interesting. This is like where you and I differ in fantasy. You're about streaming a defense, and I'm all about having just a good defense to play. Like I'm
You
not
picked up the Broncos this week.
Yes, but like I drafted the Niners defense before anyone drafted a defense. Like I'm not afraid to draft a defense. But if you look at the Broncos, man, the Broncos have been great on defense. They're number 2 so far in fantasy, and their upcoming schedule, not afraid of Las Vegas, not afraid of the Chargers, not afraid of the Saints offense, not afraid of the Panthers offense. So over the next 4 weeks, I'll be rolling with the Patrick Surtain Denver Broncos defense. And then kickers, we already touched on our benches. You got your Lions boys on a bye, and obviously Cup is out. The Wicks pickup is nice. If Jalen Warren can go back to being the running back he was last year, I'd be excited as can be. Waddle, that offense might be the worst offense in the NFL. Saquon obviously on a
If Tua
bye.
comes back and you'll be getting production from Waddle, it probably won't be anything crazy, but
Yeah.
you definitely got to wait that one out.
Sutton and Trey Tucker, just nice flexes I could play at any point. I'm hoping Trey Tucker now
Yeah,
that
I think Cortland Sutton is a dark horse, another one of those guys you can just fill in. He's not going to blow you away, but look at the targets; they're pretty consistent. And Bo Nix, if he starts to find any bit of a rhythm, is going to look to Sutton.
yeah. So obviously you have
I
a huge
wanted Sutton
start.
off of waivers last week, and obviously you got him.
I'll trade you Cooper Cup for him.
That's going to be a hard no.
So obviously you're projected to win by 14. Should be closer. Should be a good matchup. Hopefully I can pull
I
that.
believe of all the teams in the league, we have the 2 highest projected totals. Buy into that however much you want to. I
I'm not
try
gonna
not to
buy.
look at projections, but
I'm not buying into that because I know Justin's team is projected a shitload of points this week.
it might have changed after the Thursday night game. So I think that was before the Thursday night game last night, where
Gotcha.
some dudes did have monster games.
All right, we're
Oh
going
God.
Johnny versus Kevin. Obviously, they haven't.
So
Kevin hasn't fixed his lineup yet, so we'll just have to talk through that.
Kevin doesn't
But
have a running back on his roster that's going to play this weekend. So that's an issue. I looked at this earlier today, and I thought you were attacking Kevin in the group chat a couple of weeks ago.
yeah,
And I looked at his team and I was like, it's not that bad. He's got a solid team. He could make a run, but now he doesn't have a running back that's going to play this weekend. So there's nothing on waivers at running back. Sorry, Kev. This is a tough week. You're going to lose to Johnny.
dude, I was
Although Johnny might find a way to lose it. I wouldn't be surprised.
dude. The thing is, like, Kevin's team, they have talent. It's just Jalen Hurts has been bad. Obviously, Gibbs is in a committee, so he'll never have his full equity until he takes over the number one. But Jonathan Taylor being out, Devin Singletary's just you can't rely on Devin Singletary in the Giants offense. He's okay. Nothing great though. But I'm actually pulling for Johnny to win this one because I want a bunch of 1-4 teams in our league.
Yeah, that definitely the quicker you get behind and in the standings, the harder it is to get back. So
Yeah, it just
one
feels
and four
like
is pretty tough.
it just feels like with how our league typically is, where it's going to be 6 good teams making the playoffs, or at least 5 good teams, and maybe one team squeaks in, even if they're not that great. 1 and 4 seems like a huge hurdle to get over. That's a lot of losses to begin the season. But we have Andy Dalton versus CJ Stroud, giving an advantage to Johnny there. Aaron Jones. If you remember after draft night, we were ripping on Johnny for not drafting another running back. Do you remember who he traded to get Aaron Jones for?
I believe it was Chris Godwin with Dan.
Yeah, and Chris Godwin has been balling this year. But Aaron Jones has too. Aaron Jones is the number 7 running back, averaging 18 a game.
Yeah, Aaron Jones has been very good. I don't think anyone thought that Minnesota offense would be as good as it is.
No. So yeah, and if Jonathan
And
Taylor doesn't play, I know it says he's ruled out. I saw today that he still may play. I mean, Kevin's in a world of hurt. Antonio Gibson is actually a nice little ad by Johnny. He catches a lot of balls. Patriots are always losing, so he should at least catch like 4 or 5 balls on Sunday. Devin Singletary, doubtful. God, sorry, Kev. Marvin Harrison. People were really high on him to begin the year. So was I. He's been okay. Zay Flowers has been absolutely terrible. Look at this. 5 and 2. 2
those are the
targets.
2 games the Ravens won, though, worth pointing out.
Well, yeah, because when they
The
get up,
games he scored more are the games the Ravens lost.
yeah, because they'd be losing. They need to throw. And I don't think Baltimore is going to be losing to too many teams this year. JSN's a nice little pickup. I think people a little bit too high on him. Like he still has like a 3-point game, a 6-point game, but he's a good young player. I think people kind of overestimated his role for this year, though. DJ Moore, that Bears offense is kind of a wreck. So it feels like DJ Moore is just going to be that steady, like 10 to 15 points, nothing more, but nothing really less either.
Yeah, he's always been a guy, even when he was with the Panthers, where it was you're not really sure what you're gonna get. You know you got a good player, but you're from a fantasy point of view, hard to predict.
Yeah, and this is one person I was excited to talk about right here. How long does Johnny continue to play Mark Andrews, who has a total of 9 targets all season and 5 of them being in week 2? How long do you
Um,
continue to play Mark Andrews based off his name?
yeah, I don't know. There's no one to pick up at tight end really, so maybe I don't think it's a terrible move by him to just let it ride, but you definitely don't feel good about it,
I mean,
especially where he definitely drafted him.
Zach Ertz has been in the NFL since the day I was born, it feels like, and he's at least producing numbers.
Yeah, I picked him up a couple weeks ago when Kittle didn't play. Um, I didn't even know he was still in the league, but he still catches some balls every week. And
I
right
mean,
now at
look at
tight
it.
end, if your tight end catches 4 passes for 30 yards, I think you're happy.
I mean, Mark Andrews has as many catches as we do combined over the last 2 weeks in the NFL. Mark
Hey, but
Andrews.
the blocking is still there.
Yeah, that's true. Khalil Shakir's been nice in Buffalo, but looks like he's out. Another huge blow to Johnny. Debo finally coming back for Kev. Debo's always been a nice fantasy guy because he also adds some carries every game. And then Browns defense, Bills defense, couple kickers, and now the benches. Johnny picking
So let
McCaffrey.
me ask you a question about Johnny here.
Yeah,
And you're Johnny, you're 0 and 4.
yeah.
You're brought in to save the season. You got
McCaffrey's
Aaron
gone
Jones, but
tomorrow.
not much else at running back. Do you consider trying to trade McCaffrey and Chubb just to get a guy who's going to play now?
Dude, I would trade
You
Christian
buy
McCaffrey.
early in that, like, okay, you're probably getting a worse player, but you're saying, I need someone who can be in my lineup now, and I'm willing to take that hit because you're 0 and 4, you're already behind.
Honestly, man, I would trade Christian McCaffrey for an RB2 right now.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question. I think you have to make that move.
Okay,
Now,
so
I don't know if there's anyone who would take him for an RB2 because the running backs are so valuable.
let's see. Would you trade McCaffrey for Jerome Ford?
I would probably do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Would you trade McCaffrey for Tony Pollard?
Um, Probably. I don't know. I'd have to read up more on the McCaffrey injury. I'm not in the loop really.
Gotcha.
I know he was in Germany. He's got tendonitis in both ankles. That doesn't sound promising as a.
No, it doesn't sound great. And Calvin Ridley, I actually liked Calvin Ridley at the beginning of the year. I was a big fan of Will Levis. I thought he would be a gunslinger this year, but my God, man, this is atrocious for someone as talented as Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, and they still have D Hop on in that in that receiver room, and
And they have Tyler Boyd.
yeah. So the Will Levis just ain't getting it done.
No,
Mason Rudolph ain't getting it done.
no. But hey, Johnny does have Jawan Jennings ranked eighth so far in fantasy football due to this 46.5 point week.
Yeah,
Freaking
no
unreal.
Debo and no Kittle
And
that week.
basically no Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah.
All right. So who you got this week, Johnny or Kev?
I got Johnny just because Kev doesn't have a single active running back.
Yeah, it might be 80 to 70, but I got Johnny simply because he has more bodies to play.
Exactly.
All right, now we got Mario and Chad. Chad's got a good team. Not gonna lie, I like Chad's team.
Chad has a good team, and for a 1-3 team, I think Mario's solid too.
Yeah, I mean he's
Quarterback, yeah, but
yeah, he's been unfortunate because Tyreek and Travis Kelce got off to a slow start. But yeah, so obviously Chad has the cheat code Josh Allen.
didn't
Then
do anything last week.
no.
May have been concussed and they let him keep playing. Took
Well,
that big hit, didn't look the same after.
yeah, shout out to Buffalo for having all the momentum and let's pitch it back to Josh Allen to have him throw. Very confused on the play call. But Kyron Williams, Chad, great pick. I was not huge on Kyron Williams, but dude, this dude just gets so much volume and so many touchdowns.
Yeah, he's had a touchdown in like 10 straight games dating back to last year.
Yeah, Kyron Williams.
And it's really the only thing the Rams got going for them. If I'm the Rams, I'm running the ball down the other team's throat, trying to shorten the game because
Yeah,
defense ain't doing it. Offense ain't doing it outside the running game.
yeah. Chuba has been nice. I'm pretty sure Chad got him off waivers, or maybe he drafted him. Yeah, drafted 12th round. Chuba
Yeah,
helped.
no one knew what to make out of the Panthers backfield going into the year, and after McCaffrey got traded 2 years ago, Chuba's been the main guy, but it hasn't been very good fantasy wise. But he's kind of finally put it together and with some help of Andy Dalton at quarterback.
Yeah, but we'll see how this lasts when Jonathan Brooks comes back.
We'll
You
see.
don't you don't draft a rookie running back just to sit him. Um, Josh Jacobs, yeah, dude, Josh Jacobs like led the NFL in rushing a couple years ago, and since then, dude, I think he just took too many hits one year. Like, look at this, dude, 32 carries for just 13 fantasy points.
Yeah. Still a solid starter in fantasy with Green Bay. Jordan Love's back. The offense looked good last week, but
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, I don't think this is the Josh Jacobs of 2 years ago.
so let me ask you this: if you were Johnny, would you trade McCaffrey for Josh Jacobs?
Yeah, but I don't know if Mario would make that trade.
Yeah, well, I mean, Mario can't. He's 1-3 as well. But I was saying, like, if he had a winning record, like 4-0 or something. Kareem
Yeah,
Hunt, good pickup. Won't be anything great, but he'll be enough to keep float with
he'll
the
last a
running back.
couple weeks until Pacheco comes back. I don't think the Pacheco injury is going to be super long term.
Yeah.
He went on IR, but I don't think it was gonna be more than 6 weeks, so Pacheco should be back soon.
Yeah, he'll keep them afloat. Stephon Diggs putting up big numbers in Houston.
In a revenge game this weekend, he's gonna be featured in the game plan. He wants to score against Buffalo.
Yeah,
Buffalo's secondary isn't great.
I don't like Stephon Diggs. I think he's kind of a brat, but he is a good football player. So shout out to Stephon Diggs. Amari Cooper. Dude, the thing is with Amari Cooper, he's so
Oh man.
talented. He's so great. But dude, like this number right here, if that holding penalty wasn't called against the Browns the other night, his day is completely different. He catches a 70-yard touchdown.
Yeah, and he dropped that touchdown in week 1 against Dallas.
Yeah, he actually leads the NFL in drops so far this season.
He hasn't looked good outside of the one game. As a Browns fan, I mean that team's just tough to watch.
Blow it up, baby. Restart.
I Yeah, I don't think they can. They still owe Watson like 150 million the next 2 years or something. So
I actually saw with the Chiefs being out the Devontae Adams sweet skate blah, 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 sweet
sweepstakes.
thank you, sweepstakes. Amari Cooper is a target for them by the trade deadline.
Yeah, Cooper, if the Browns can't start turning it around, Cooper needs to go. I don't know what you can get for him, maybe a third round pick if you're lucky. And that's if you're lucky.
Jaden Reed, Chad loves this dude. I don't blame him. He gets carries.
Chad knows what he's got in Jaden Reed. I think he's made that clear.
Yeah, dude, no one's touching Jaden Reed off Chad's lineup this year. Dude, Chad's got some nice receivers. Stephon Diggs, Jaden Reed, and he's got Deontay Johnson on the bench. He's got a good team. Tyreek Hill, obviously. Oh, 6, 7, and 8. Jesus. Awful. Hopefully, when Tua comes back, Tyreek can come back to being Tyreek.
Well, he also got arrested. People forget. And prison changes a man, even though he didn't even go in the back of the cop car. He
Didn't he get
just was cuffed.
arrested the
But
week he played week 1 where he went crazy?
you might be right. So maybe he just needs to get arrested every week. Maybe that's the key.
Yeah, and then tight ends. Dude, when Chad played against you, was that the week Cole Kmet went nuts?
Yeah. I mean, Chad went off against me. Like I
26.
think he put up like 170 points that week. Got a good team. I think I laid an egg too that week, but yeah.
And then
When Cole
Kelsey.
Kmet's putting up 30, you don't stand much of a chance.
Kelsey's been terrible, but with Rashid Rice being down, maybe he gets the more targets now. But yeah,
I don't know. Is Taylor going to be at the game this week?
we've already touched
That's
about
big
tight
news.
ends. Saints got a good defense too. Some people think that's going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be a very low scoring game.
Monday Night Football, I believe.
Yep. Wendell Robinson, dude, I saw he's on track for 110 catches this year. Like, look at this.
Danny Dimes likes him. He was targeted early and often last week.
Yeah, and then you got Zach Moss, your boy from last year. I think it's only a matter of time till Chase Brown takes over this backfield, but Zach Moss is just like a decent RB2. But he is putting up RB1 numbers last 2 weeks.
Yeah. We'll see what that I don't know about that Bengals team.
Yeah.
At some point, I think they'll just say, Chase, Higgins, go. And no matter what the score is.
Yeah, and then obviously defenses we don't really care about. Tight ends, dude. The thing is, Chad's tight end Evan Ingram hasn't even played a game this year yet. Chad, oh, I guess he played a little bit of week 1. Chad's gonna have a really good team when they get healthy. Deontay Johnson has been crazy the last 2 weeks. Dude, Ramondre Stevenson. He has fumbled.
What's the old saying here? Ball security
is job
security. And he keeps fumbling.
He has fumbled 4 straight games. The problem is the Patriots are just never winning, so I don't think he's ever going to live up to being a nice running back to have. Like he's nice on a bye week, I guess, but I would not be nervous if my opponent was playing Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah, completely agree. And he got benched for quite a while last week too.
Yeah, don't be surprised. Antonio Gibson takes over that starting position. Keenan Allen's been injured. Xavier Worthy is boomer bust. DeAndre Swift better keep Roshan Johnson off the field. And Trey Sermon, if Jonathan Taylor doesn't play, I would consider playing him if I was Mario, but I don't know exactly who I would take out.
Yeah, good pickup, but I don't know if I'd play him either.
Yeah. And I got Chad winning this. I got Chad moving to 3-2 and Mario falling to 1-4.
Agreed.
All right. So we got Justin State Farm versus RJ's team. Jesus
Is
Christ, Drake London.
Yeah, I believe that was Drake London last night. Put up some big time numbers. Is there any meeting to Justin State Farm name that I'm not picking up on, or
Couldn't tell you. No idea.
he's just State Farm?
I guess so. I
All
don't
right.
know.
Hell of a team. Every year, it seems like in fantasy football, one of the top running backs always gets hurt either before the season or week 1 or 2. It just happens. It's football. It's a violent game. But whoever gets that waiver pickup of the guy that comes in that spot
Yeah.
is bound to have a great season. So Justin, who already had a really good team, getting Jordan Mason just makes his team even better.
Well, yeah, dude. When you take a top 5 running back so far in fantasy and you added him on waivers and you add it with the number 6 receiver and also the number 1 receiver, you're gonna have a really good team.
Yeah, exactly. And Malik Neighbors, if I recall, nobody wanted him in the draft. He fell, and I think Justin eventually was like, "Well, I guess I'll just take him. No one else wants him."
Dude, he was drafted
And
6 overall.
now he's a beast. Didn't see that coming. I will be honest. I didn't think Neighbors. I didn't trust anyone on that Giants team in the draft.
Dude, I'll give you a fun fact. Justin didn't even know who Malik Neighbors was.
Well, it worked out.
Yeah, and he's got
Yep.
HEN who I'm concerned about. I'm not a huge HEN guy. I think he's too small, and now that he doesn't have Tua, I don't think he's going to be doing much. Um, Rashad White has been disappointing so far this year for RJ. I actually have Rashad White on another fantasy team. He's been real disappointing. Javonte Williams. I know a couple years ago you said this guy was a dog. Scott, this guy's not a
I
dog.
don't recall ever saying that.
Yeah, a couple years ago, you and I got into a conversation about Javonte Williams, and you're like, "Dog."
I don't think that was something I would have said,
I
but
I promise you're the only person who says "dog" for anyone on your team.
yeah, well, you see, I don't think Javante was ever that guy. Definitely not him. Um,
Javonte's tough. That Broncos are just tough to watch. Great defense though.
yeah,
Jamar Chase. I could have drafted Chase. Remember, I traded out of that pick. Um, he's been nice over the last couple of weeks, and he didn't have a terrible week 1 either, so he's been okay.
yeah. Week 1, I think he had like half a week of practice too, so he was on like a pitch count.
Yeah, yeah. Jamar Chase.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it's Jamar Chase. He's gonna be good. You're gonna count on him to lead your team.
And then Justin Jefferson. Justin got Justin Jefferson at pick number 8. I hope next year people realize that no matter who Justin Jefferson's quarterback is, you just draft him. I hope I learn from my mistake next year as well. You just
I
draft
think you
Justin
got
Jefferson.
Saquon. I think you're okay with what you did.
Well, yeah, I mean, drafting Saquon's fine, but I was a little down on JJ to begin the season, and next year I need to know that I just can't be. Pat Fryermuth, not sure how he's the 6th ranked tight end, but shout out to Pat Fryermuth.
Yeah, a tight end, like I said, you just go with what you got, and you're hoping to post a number. If you get double digits, you're thrilled.
This is an acquisition from RJ, traded James Conner for Chris Olave. It's been okay.
Yeah,
Terrible week 1, but Chris Olave is just a solid receiver. I prefer James Conner in a fantasy purpose for a running back, but Chris Olave is certainly a good receiver to have.
absolutely. Connor has had a really good start to the year. I don't know if he'll keep that up.
No, I expect James Conner to eventually get injured like how he does, and Trey Benson takes the lead. And then Garrett Wilson has not been ideal. Hasn't been absolutely awful, but for where RJ drafted him at 15th overall, expect better from the number one receiver on an Aaron Rodgers-led offense.
Yeah, he's giving you flex numbers. He's not giving you wide receiver one numbers.
Yeah, and that's certainly an expensive flex to draft in the second round. And then Justin's boy, Najee Harris, who I actually think is super valuable to have a Najee Harris type of running back on your team.
Yeah, he's he's the lead back. It's not Jalen Warren, and anytime you have a lead back who's your flex or a backup option, you feel pretty good about it.
Other than Zamir White.
I, someone else pick him up this week. I don't know.
I dropped him. I don't know. I'd never want to see his name on my roster again. And then
I
of
don't
course,
think he's playing this weekend.
really?
Yeah, I think he's ruled out. So whoever's got Alexander Madison probably still don't want to play him because
I think Dan's got Madison. We'll get to Dan's team eventually. Neighbors out, big blow to Justin, but with Drake London being able to plug in instead, 33 points. Tony Pollard's nice. Hunter Henry, not sure why Justin is homing Hunter Henry. And then this is interesting. Keaton Mitchell, if you remember last year, he went crazy for like 1 or 2 weeks. He's just been chilling on Justin's IR. But I got Justin beating RJ pretty easily to move to 5-0, and I got RJ falling to 1-4.
yeah, Justin, especially after Drake London popping off,
Yeah, RJ's in
he
trouble.
might he's the team to beat in the league right now.
All right, we got two more matchups. We got Sam's versus Jimmy's. Kyler versus Justin Fields. Justin Fields has actually been nice. He had a huge game last week, but 11 points isn't ideal, but week 3 and week 4 has been nice. Kenneth Walker back and healthy, 3 touchdowns last week. Bijan's been quite disappointing for being the second pick in the draft, I think he was. Yeah, second pick in the draft. He's averaging only 13 points a game. Bijan's better than that.
Well, when Kirk's thrown for 500 yards, do you really need a running back?
True. James Conner, Jimmy really needed a running back, so I could see why he went away with Olave. Austin Eckler has actually been a little nicer than I expected. Look at this,
Yeah,
3
except when he was
double-digit.
concussed.
Yeah, but hey, 3 double-digit weeks. How many running backs can actually say they've had 3 double-digit weeks so far?
Probably a short list.
Yeah. Nico Collins, the number 2 now, probably behind Drake London because he already played. But look at Nico Collins, man. Look
Yeah,
at
I didn't have big hopes for Nico coming into the year. I was wrong. I was avoiding him in the draft. Ooh, brisket.
looks good. Our sponsor, Chipotle.
Yeah. But yeah, Collins, who drafting him, steal
Yep.
of the draft, along with neighbors.
Darnell Mooney's been putting up good numbers in Atlanta.
Hit 2 tutties last night, I think.
Yep, 2 touchdowns. Had a couple other double-digit games this season. He's a great. Sam and I were actually messaging last night. He's a great wide receiver 2 in real life football. Michael Pittman, terrible first 3 weeks, but last week got it going. I hope he doesn't because I drafted Jalen Waddle above Michael Pittman, so I kind of hope Michael Pittman doesn't.
Well, that's the Joe Flacco bump he got.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually, Jimmy acquired Michael Pittman in that deal. So he got James Conner and Michael
that's
Pittman
right.
for Javonte and Olave. Forgot about that Pittman part. Trey McBride, probably, I would guess to be the number 1 tight end to end the season, but at this point, I have no idea. Tucker Kraft, nice pickup by Sam. 17 points last week. Last couple
Yeah,
weeks.
tight ends.
Yeah.
You got to just ride the wave,
Romeo
ride the hot
Doubs
hand.
is out this week, or doubtful at least, so he's gonna have to play someone else. He doesn't have much on his bench because he's on a bye and he's on a bye. So don't know who he plugged in there. But Rico Dowell, terrible runner of the ball, but he catches a little bit. I've been interested in some Rico in my life, but yeah, and then the benches, Sam took a huge hit with Rashee Rice. Raheem Moser will eventually come back and he'll be a little relevant. Lad McConaughey's okay. And yeah, just a good
Who's
team.
that on IR? Does he have
What's that?
someone on IR there?
He's got Jonathan Brooks.
Ah, okay.
And then, dude, Brandon Aubrey, the kicker, is averaging 15 points a game.
Yeah, but did he miss that kick against the Giants on purpose?
I don't
That
know.
50-yarder at the end of the game. All the money was on the Cowboys to cover the spread. He missed the kick. The Cowboys didn't cover the spread.
I think I saw that it was Brandon Aubrey's first ever miss in the NFL.
Yeah, and he looked really lackadaisical when he kicked the ball.
Shout out to
I don't
hey,
know. I'm not saying Brandon Aubrey's shaving points, but I'm not saying he isn't.
shout out to Brandon Aubrey. Yeah, I actually think both these teams are pretty good teams. I got Sam winning this one to move to 4-1 and Jimmy falling to 2-3.
I think this one's going to be close, but I'd probably give the edge to Sam as well.
All right, and we're at the last matchup.
Yeah, and I think we're going to have a blowout here.
You think it's going to be a blowout?
Yeah, I don't think Mike's team is very good.
All right, so let's see. Brock Purdy.
Actual Mike Hall Jr. suspended 5 games, though. We don't condone violence against women.
Brock Purdy versus Baker Mayfield. Browns are kicking themselves about Baker.
I don't know about that.
Charbonnet versus Breece Hall. Breece Hall's been quite fantastic other than this past game.
Yeah.
Justice.
And then Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, Alvin Kamara, RB1 so far. The fact that he was able to get him. Oh, he got him in the second round. I thought he got him a little later.
I think if I recall, he wasn't ranked that high. Dan took him well before like the ESPN ranking. So good on Dan for recognizing some talent.
And then you got Ayuk and Addison. Addison played last week. Scored 2 touchdowns. I remember Addison was on your team last year. He scored a touchdown against my team. Remember when Addison went crazy for like 3 weeks?
Yep.
Yep.
That was when Jefferson got hurt and before Cousins got hurt.
Yeah, Brandon Ayuk probably been the most disappointing fantasy player maybe so far this season, other than maybe Garrett Wilson for where you drafted him. But look at these numbers, man.
Hey, got paid. Got paid.
Christian Kirk is a nice pickup. Christian Kirk's just a really good football player. Chris Godwin ranked number 3rd so far in fantasy. Double digits in every game. That'll come down eventually, though, in my opinion. George Pickens, I gave Mike for DeAndre Swift. George Pickens has been okay. I think George Pickens is a pretty decent fantasy receiver if you just want a flex or a bench option. Brian Robinson Jr., I actually saw that. I know right here it says he's questionable, but I saw that he probably won't play against the Browns.
Well, when he is playing, he's been playing really well. That offense is fun to watch. And with the Commanders, but I hope the Browns win. Hope it's a shootout though, because Jaden Daniels.
I hope it's a very low scoring game. And then, yeah, this Mike's team has been obliterated. AJ Brown's out, Joe Mixon's out, Puka's out. I mean, that's maybe his first 3 picks.
Probably was, yeah.
First 3 picks.
It would be Brown.
Yeah, it went Brown, Puka, Mixon. Can't expect Mike to stay afloat too much longer if they don't come back soon. But yeah, and then Dan's got Devontae, who's just out. But who knows when Devontae is going to come back? If they don't trade him soon, what if he just sits for like 4 or 5 weeks?
Make a business decision. That's what his coach said, right?
I actually saw that every week they don't trade him, a team has to pay like $100,000 less of his salary for this year or something like that.
Hmm,
So maybe they'll hold
interesting.
off for a while. Maybe teams don't want to pay all that salary and give up a second round pick. Sam Laporta has been disappointing, very disappointing. God, not even double digits yet.
Yeah, very disappointing. I drafted him high in another league, and it's not good.
And then Alexander Madison, I mean, better than Zamir White, much better than Zamir White. Good for Alexander Madison. And then obviously Mahomes, but he's played Baker Mayfield. I think you're right. I'm smelling a blowout here. Um,
I mean, not much Mike can do without his three best players. We've said we hate it when people, blame injuries. Don't
but
complain about it. It's part of the game. But damn, he really, that's
yeah,
a tough, tough,
yeah.
tough situation.
When you miss out on your top three guys and you're playing Zach Sharp, when you're playing two backup running backs as your two starting fantasy running backs, bad things are going to happen.
Yeah.
It's just not going to work. I got Dan winning a blowout. Dan moving to
Dan's another
4-1.
one of those teams to beat in the league.
Yeah, he's got a good
He's
team.
going to be in the mix at the end.
Yep, then we'll take a look at the standings real fast and then we'll head off on our merry way. Obviously, Justin, by far the front runner, already a 95% chance to make the postseason. Yeah, and then we got three teams at 3-1. Obviously, you or I, or four teams
Four
at
teams.
3-1. It looks like Dan's gonna win. Sam's gonna be in a close one. You or I, one of us has to lose. But yeah, dude, like if you like down here is what I was saying. RJ has to be favored to lose this week against Justin. Johnny and Kevin. Kevin's team is decimated right now. Mike's team is decimated. Mario's team has been hurting. I think realistically, all these teams right here, all five, could be 1-4 at the end of this week.
And unless something changes drastically, that's 7 teams for 6 spots.
Yeah. But if you remember last year, it was we had like 8 teams competing for 6 spots all the way up into the last week of the season.
I believe there were tiebreakers that came into play too.
Yeah. And then Justin leads the league in scoring. Interesting enough, also leads the league in points against. So no one's scoring against him, but no one can keep up with him anyway.
And defense wins championships, I guess.
Yeah, but let's see who's been getting fucked. Kevin. Kevin, RJ, and Johnny. Poor RJ. I think RJ has the best team out of the three of these guys that we just said. But can't play defense in fantasy football. No, look at you, the second least amount of points scored. Then I'm a little bit behind you. And yeah,
Control the controllables. That's what I always say.
control what you control. Shout out to Redayers. But all right. So this was kind of our first episode, went through each week, and we'll do this on a weekly basis. Maybe we can bring in some more people as well.
And just bring in like the worst player and just ridicule them for a good 20 minutes.
So just bring Johnny on.
I don't know if Johnny wins, it might not be him.
If Johnny wins, well, then we'll have to bring Kevin on next week. All right, buddy. You enjoy your night. Be safe. Don't do anything stupid out in Lakewood. Look out for all the crazy people.
I would never.
Hey, no throwing up tonight.
Thanks.
All right. See you, buddy.
See ya.